It is. We're going to Duluth tonight.
Oh, congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
Thanks.
I am.
We'd have to change chairs.
It's gonna be quick. Are we supposed to? I don't know. I don't think this is my spot. Like I said, I've been sitting here for years.
And you didn't even have to give anyone the look. I thought it was just a given. Next time you say Jim, you really call me. She was in my spot.
I was in your spot last
We
time.
need a rose between the thorns anyways.
Yes, right.
Well, where is it?
We don't get those very often.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and start. Marty shows up. So I'll call to order Chisholm City Council meeting, May 11th, 2022. Good evening, everyone, city staff, citizens at home, fellow council. Could we get a roll call, please, Margaret?
I'll turn it over to Susan.
Susan, welcome.
Thank you. Counselor Halverson, absent. Counselor Mithila Raha,
Present.
Counselor Fountain,
Here.
Counselor Lance,
Here?
Counselor Lassie,
Here.
Mayor Champa, absent.
Thank you. We're gonna look to adopt the agenda. We do have one deletion. We're gonna get rid of, number one under Larry. We'll remove that from the agenda. And I believe that is all the changes.
Number one. This one sheet is an addition to
The ordinance reading,
yes.
and that is going under,
C under Jim. 1.
C1. Just have a change of the,
Just in addition to that ordinance.
addition to the ordinance for the public and private sewers. We'll add that. You get a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council President Lance.
Yes.
We also received a letter of resignation from firefighters Cory Lundy.
Oh, yes,
For each of your mailboxes.
Yep.
you're correct. So we'll just add that as number 4 under John Champa, and I'll take that up with line.
Forgot about that.
Fire resignation. Cory Lundin. Can I get you to amend your motion
Yes.
and your second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yep. And we'll note that, Counselor Iverson, good evening. Good evening. Present. We have one public participant this evening. Matt Bosmerl,
Yes.
if you would please.
Thank you. Everybody have to bear with me. It's been a tough week. Last Tuesday, I walked out of my house and, with my dog, and some of you may recognize me from walking up and down the main street. And a pit bull went across the street, grabbed my dog, and the net result was she died on Sunday. The police came and got it, brought it down to Precious Paws, and my understanding is it was released back to this lady. Sarah Livingston, I believe her name is. Anyway, I'm here about an ordinance about dangerous dogs. I mean, a lot of people, I live right next to a funeral home. And I see so many people walking at night with their with their dogs and their little kids going up to the mailbox and stuff like that, you know. And I'm just afraid the dog, that dog, the kid will get between their dog and that dog. And I don't care what kind of dog it was, if it did killed something, it shouldn't be in tow. And all I'm asking is there an ordinance for a dangerous dog? If there's not, I'd like to see one established.
I can answer that. But continue on.
Well, no, that's basically the gist of what I want.
Yeah.
Before whenever you do respond, I did have
Yeah,
to make phone, but I'm terribly sorry. I can understand if that was my dog, what state I would be in. And I totally agree with you. If there's not something on the books, we need to get something to prevent this, or at least to have some better action about it, because,
I mean, everybody did their jobs,
right.
but the net result is my buddy was 14 years old.
I'm very sorry for your loss.
That's all I have.
Yeah, I'm gonna respond. They want me to come up here, and I'm very sorry for your loss. I know how much you love that dog, and you walked it several times a day. We were listening to, we look forward to the bell coming up and down Lake Street. And it's a terrible loss, and I certainly feel for you. We do have both a dangerous dog and a potential dangerous dog on our ordinance that follows the state law. And what happened is, unfortunately, in this case, we had to give the dog back. However, she was served, the owner was served with potentially dangerous dog paperwork. And to me, the nice thing about that is they have to follow the criteria for dangerous dog, even with a potential dangerous dog. And she will make sure that the dog is gone. She won't be able to follow the criteria. And the dog will have to be taken out of town. And hopefully, if they can't find a place that can follow the rules of a potentially dangerous dog, the dog will more likely be put down. But it will be removed from the city of Chisholm. That is part of that. They have to follow those rules, and
I was told by the neighbor across the street who was watching the dog for this lady, is she came out of California with this dog. The dog was supposed to be put down in California, and instead of having it put down, she brought it up here,
right.
which is just bringing a problem to our city.
Right, and that's what we try to not have with taking as dangerous dog, is that moniker is supposed to follow them with the dog, even if the dog goes to a different owner. That is supposed to, so people know and they have to follow those rules. Fortunately, sometimes, people will give a dog away that it won't follow rules, but we're following up with her to make sure that the dog's not in town and that, and due process is done on that.
Well,
So,
and like I said, it had no calling on it, so it wasn't licensed as far as I know, didn't have rabies shots as far as I know, so,
right,
it was all, and like I said, I'm afraid it's gonna get.
right, and so are we, when the dog's that aggressive. And it sounded like the people that were watching it said it was being aggressive and they were having a hard
I
time.
didn't even know it was there.
Yep. So.
Chief, is there a way to follow up on that? Just make sure that this dog doesn't end up in another community?
And my officers are aware of following up with her. So she has a short window to make arrangements to take care of the animal, and we'll be following up shortly here. So.
I got a
Again,
question. Can Chisholm draw up an ordinance where this is not acceptable? Cause we're all around. We see loose pit bulls. And, I've got a daughter with 2 young kids walking all the time. Everybody else has relatives that have kids walking. What if that was a child?
Your question, and I'm assuming, John, your question is, can you ban a breed? No, you're not allowed to ban a breed. Matter of fact, the number one attacking breed that bites and harms humans is a black lab, and everybody loves a black lab. So it's actually, but there's rules against it. I'm sure Glenn can tell you about banning breeds. You can only ban or take sanctions against the actions of a certain particular dog. So.
I don't care if it's a chihuahua.
Yeah, right. We've gone over that many
Doesn't
times.
matter,
Yeah.
just happened to be a pit bull.
Right, and we've gone over that when we brought in the dangerous dog and modified it over the years, that it cannot be to a breed. It has to be to the actions of a certain dog. So, again, Matt, I'm sorry for your so I know how you guys love each other, so. Did I answer it?
Yeah, it did. I know it's not the answer you want to hear, and that's not exactly the answers I want to hear. So, I mean, maybe there's a way that we can. Obviously, it's reactionary and not proactive. So I mean,
Yeah.
maybe we can. And maybe this isn't the place in the forum to take this up, but I would like to sit down at another time and we can try to figure out something because being reactive is never good.
Right, and it's almost one of those laws where it has to be reactive. The only proactive things you can do is hopefully you have an aggressive dog that has, there's not a death involved in it, that goes after something or another dog or anybody, doesn't cause any substantial bodily harm. And then we can still go with those, but you have to wait for the action to be there.
Can we? A dog that kills something. I mean, would that be a city ordinance that you would have to write in, where a dog would be euthanized? I mean, I can't believe that there should be a second chance for a dog that has killed anything. That's another person's pet.
Right, well, I don't believe you could just automatically euthanize them. There's a state law that what they have to follow.
Okay.
Like I said, the good part about that is we follow up to make sure they're following those rules, and those rules are pretty much unfollowable. You have to take out a rider on your house to have that dog. I don't know of an insurance company that puts out the $500,000 rider for a dangerous dog, so your insurance company will drop you. So I've never seen one that we've tagged as potential or a dangerous dog that's ever, they've got their grace period to get rid of the dog and the dog's gone because they can't follow the law. That's why I'm saying she won't be able to follow the ordinance. I've never seen anybody do it yet. So.
Yeah. Thank you for that information.
So at least it gets the dog over here, and normally they're euthanized.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Adam,
Yes.
it's hard to be proactive unless you're out there looking or somebody reports something.
Right.
If somebody reports one, then I think that we have to be
Yep.
very serious about following up. And unfortunately, reactive is almost what always happens because
Right.
people don't necessarily know there's a dog there that's dangerous until it happens.
Yep.
And then it's too late,
Yep.
unfortunately. And I'm glad to see that there is something that the city is following, that this is a state guideline or state ordinance now.
Well, we have, it's adopted in both.
Oh, okay, because I had a situation 17 years ago and I came inches away from being mauled by a vicious dog. And at that time, nothing could be done about it.
Right.
And I'm glad to hear that things have changed.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that information. And again, I'm terribly sorry for your loss. Okay, we'll move on to reports. Marty, we'll start with you.
Okay, good evening, it's been busy. I've had some Zoom meetings with Rock Solid and Stephanie to talk about our work scope out this year for our maintenance grant, and that is an item later on the agenda. We've had a couple of Zoom meetings regarding the public safety building design. And we had a local board of appeals and equalization meetings. And we've had 2 working sessions and also a park board meeting. And that's all I have for the report.
Thank you. Anything for Marty? April, good evening.
Good evening, thank you. I attended a community education meeting on May 5th, and there are many programs going on with community ed for this summer. The community is welcome to go on their website, and that is on the Chisholm High School website or their Facebook page, and check out all the programs that they have. And like Marty said, we've had a lot of different meetings with the local board of appeals. We've also had a working session on Monday, so we'll be very busy with that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Travis.
Good evening. A few things. First of all, again, I'm very sorry for your loss. My family actually lost a cat to a vicious dog a few years back, so I echo how you feel. Welcome to Susan. I haven't officially come and visited you yet, but I will be doing that, but welcome, and thanks for joining our team. For Kiwanis, I just want to, on behalf of Kiwanis, say thank you to everyone who supported the splash pad thus far. We are well on our way to getting that. We actually are going to be ordering the equipment once Larry finds a place for us to store it. Oh, he didn't even laugh. Didn't even laugh over there, huh? But anyway, so the pasta feed went well at Valentini's. Thank you to everyone who supported that. We do have a raffle that will be coming up in the fall, so look for that information to come soon. I am also in charge of Miss Chisholm, which is currently going on right now. Kiwanis is the sponsor of Miss Chisholm, so the pageant coronation is May 26th at the Discovery Center. I need to put a plug in for some activities this summer. We have our Sand Volleyball League that starts the first week of June, and we are in some desperate need of some teams. So if you know anybody who is a volleyball player, see if they'll come play. It's on Monday nights here in Chisholm. And then I am also in charge of softball, and softball is on Wednesdays for Women's League and on Thursdays for Men's League, with room to grow there as well if any teams want to join in. And finally, I am very happy and proud to say that I had my first couple shifts on the ambulance service. I'm very excited to be part of the team there, and big thank you to Jess for believing that I can do it. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Travis. Say, have you reached out to anyone from Hibbing as far as softball? I think there's some people interested over there that want to branch out.
Well,
Or are we full?
we're not full by any means, but I know that Hibbing doesn't have a league because we do. So
All right, well, thank you, Travis.
you're welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening. No report.
I have no report either. I can build off of what everybody else had said, the meetings that we've been on too. Things are moving along with the public safety building. Things are going swimmingly. I think we're the closest we've been in a long time, and I really, really hope to see this through. So, other than that, I have no report. City Ambulance Director, Ms. Davis, good evening.
Good evening, council. Most important thing, next week, May 15th through 21st is EMS week, nationally recognized. So thank you to our EMTs and counselors that are on the service as well. We're kicking off by doing some cleanup within the city on Sunday as well, kind of a celebration of community servitude and EMS week as a whole. Continuing to run all of our calls. We've had a little bit of a slowdown. It seems like we're starting to pick back up a little bit again. Everything's going well otherwise. And that's all I have. That's not on the agenda unless anyone has questions for me.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Fire Chief. Mr. Susi, how are you doing this evening?
Good. Good afternoon, council. We'll start with the calls for the year so far. We're at 65 calls as of end of April. That is way above our normal call load. At this pace, we're going to be on 190 calls for the year, which is, it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. We had our fire department banquet 2 weeks ago. Haven't had one in 3 years. Great turnout for what it was. Got to see a lot of retirees that we haven't seen for a while, so everybody had a good time that night at Valentini's. Last month, 2 weeks ago, we had 6 of our members go to a search and rescue training down in Rush City. Council Lance was one of them. It is advanced search and rescue from some of the top instructors in the Midwest, so thank you to those guys. Something our community doesn't get to see or hear about, that all the training these guys do, and it's a big benefit to them. We have hazmat training next week. You'll see us over by Industrial Park. This is a great training. We haven't had hands-on hazmat in a while, and we were able to get a grant for that because the Blue Fire training helped us get that grant. There was limited money, and we got it. So that's great. And if you were out around the city and on 169, you'll see where we burnt. We've got a lot of burning done last week to help unify the city. So should green up nice here shortly and look really good. And Larry will mow them all. So
Excellent.
That's all I have. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay.
Police Chief. Chief Manor, how are you doing?
Good, I don't have a report.
No.
No questions.
Really? Any questions for the police chief? No. Thank you. City building official and zoning administrator, Ms. Galley, no report. City engineer, Mr. Johnson, how are you this evening?
Very good for an old guy. Thank you very much. Good to see you all. Nice to see some sunshine, some warmth. Just a couple quick announcements. Next week, a week from today at 10 o'clock, we'll be receiving bids on our 5th Street Southeast infrastructure projects, and hopefully be bringing a recommendation back to you in 2 weeks. And then the other thing, Larry and I received a work plan from Minnesota Energy, and I made a copy of a map that they sent to us, so you got the information. They've got about 4 areas around town where, mostly in the northwest quadrant of the city, where they're gonna be looking at gas main and service line replacement. So it's just there for your information, in case you get contacted. With that, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have other than what I have on the agenda.
Those in our mailbox, Jim, those maps?
Yes, yeah, they're in your mailbox, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works Supervisor, Mr. Folstead, good evening.
Thank you. Evening, everyone. A couple updates since the advertisement to post externally was taken from the packet. We had an internal move, so we'll be able to bring something back to you in the future, hopefully the next council meeting. And then piggyback off of Chief Masusi's comment there about the burning, it looks really, really nice. If you didn't see it around, take a ride out around from the east entrance, and then even around between the Ironman. It's really, really nice when it just greens up so beautiful like that. So I know they haven't burned in many years, and it's really helpful. So when you come into Chisholm, it'll just get better and better right away. So
That's right.
a couple updates then. Casual laborers, we got a bunch starting next week, and summer's here finally. I know we've been talking about it a long time, but we'll be mowing probably in the next week, and the cemetery's real busy. It's been a long winter, and there's a lot of business to be done out there, so we'll get to that. We started hanging the flags today. We got half done. We got the United Nations up today, and we start on the states tomorrow. So we'll have that done, and then the geese, buoys / flashers will be out hopefully by the end of the day on Friday. So that'll help with the geese. Significantly less geese, I would say, this year already, and we've talked about it. It takes time. It's working, I think. So I hope all of you feel the same. Alley repair crew starts on Monday, weather permitting. So we'll be getting those alleys. We have a real good list, and we'll start with those areas that we were able to rototill, say Jim would say it, last year, and we'll get those fixed up and add some fill. And we got a sewer project going on at the campground. The campground's doing very well again. We're pretty much sold out of our seasonal spots with high demand, so we're adding sewer to some of our water sites. That's the kicker. Everybody wants sewer, so it's time to upgrade. So we're doing that right now. Hopefully we'll be done with that mid next week when our casuals come into the workforce, and then we'll get it on with our regular work. That's what I have that I can think of until I sit down. And I'll think of a couple more. Anything for me?
Thank you, Larry.
Nothing on the agenda, so thank you.
City Rec Director, Tammy's not here. She totally done now? Is Tammy over? No? Okay. Library Supervisor, absent. City Attorney, Colleen Gluslucher. Ms. Gluslucher, how are you doing this evening?
Just fine, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Mayor.
Council President.
Council.
Adam. Sorry.
Adam, okay, that's good. So good evening, everybody. Brian Lindsay asked me to report, just give the council and the community an update in terms of the last remaining trailer home on the Chisholm Iron Trail Campground. The tenants had been served with a notice to vacate at the beginning of May, or actually due at the beginning of May. They were served in March, and he had been in contact with one of the tenants, the wife, I believe. She had requested some additional time. That time passed, so Mr. Lindsay has gone ahead and prepared an eviction complaint to start the court process. That process can take a couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks we're looking at possibly. We're still hopeful that the tenants will get out on their own in the meantime, but basically just a summary of what that process looks like is once the complaint's filed, the court has to give us a summons. We have to then make sure it's properly served, and there are very specific requirements on service. Personal service is best. If we can't, we have other options, but we have to get everything served. The tenants have to be served 7 days prior to the actual eviction hearing. And then at the hearing, typically we will, if we're successful, which we expect to be, we would ask for basically a writ of recovery in order to vacate and ask for it to be within 24 hours of that hearing. The tenants can then request the court an additional time of up to 7 days if they can prove a substantial hardship in moving in the 24-hour period. So again, by my calculations, we're looking at probably about 3 weeks if it goes that route. I'm hopeful that perhaps it won't if they can manage to get out on their own. I know they've made some efforts to trying to find alternative housing, and so we're hopeful on that. But we'll keep with the court process just to keep the process moving, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you very much. City Clerk Treasurer, Ms. Saw, good evening.
Good evening, members of council. Good evening, members of the community. It's really nice to see everyone here. Really glad that we're all here in person. So, just a couple of things to share. I first wanted to acknowledge you, sir, and extend my sympathies to your loss. I'm very sorry that happened to you and your family. An announcement to share is to announce a few important dates regarding this year's election. On Tuesday, May 17th, the candidate filing begins. On Tuesday, May 31st is the last day a candidate can file. City Hall will be open until 5 p.m. to receive those applications. And then on Thursday, June 2nd, will be the last day for a candidate to withdraw. So I just wanted to point those out. And the last thing I wanted to mention is Stephanie Scraba and I have been working together to present financial data to the council in the last week or so, and that collaboration has gone very well. And I'm really excited about the direction that we're heading as a city. It feels really good that the council members and city staff are working together and are on the same level as far as the goals that we're trying to accomplish. So I'm just really, really excited and thankful for that. So, and I look forward to progressing, our goals that we've set. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Administrator, Ms. Scraba, good evening.
Good evening. Just a couple little things, not little, just short. I also wanna, just recognize your loss with your dog, and, sorry that did happen to you. And I hope we can move forward with that process, with the other animal. I also want to give some recognition to Eileen Zah. She finished a double master's, so that is a huge accomplishment. Yes, so congratulations on that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. The consent agenda, which encompasses your list of bills, communications, and police commission, the Elevon processing rates and fees for cards, Minnesota Department of Revenue annual minimum hearing, minutes of previous council meeting, April 19th working session, April 27th public hearing for 5th Avenue Southeast project, April 27th council meeting, May 4th, 2022 special meeting, payroll and overtime. I get a motion to accept the consent agenda.
Motion.
Need a second?
Support.
Trevaki, Councilor Mitoraha. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. No unfinished business, so we will run right into new business. Ms. Davis, you're starting us off.
I'm just asking City Council's approval for a resolution to accept donation of radios from Hennepin County Sheriff's Office.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you very much, good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, city engineer.
Council, what we're presenting to you tonight is hopefully the final version for the second reading of chapter 53, which is that public sewer, sanitary sewer ordinance. And we have made the revisions thanks to Mandy of the text that we edits that we talked about at that last meeting. And with that, I will be happy to try to answer any questions that you may have. And I apologize, I'm not quite sure what, Margaret, else is necessary with regards to this. I know the ordinance was so long that we've got an abbreviated that's going into the, you know, this, Margaret.
This would be the signature page where the ordinance will be published in the newspaper. And we'll just do a condensed version of it.
And we just need a separate motion to approve
Nope,
that.
that's all part of your ordinance.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Basically, I think, Margaret, because of the length of the ordinance, we're publishing an abbreviated form of it, and this is just accommodating that.
Condensed from the first reading at the last meeting. I would look for a motion to approve that second reading.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Support.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Margaret. The next item is change order number 1 on our Third Street project. I tried hopefully to give you some substantial relevant information with documentation for this request. The contractors typically order their complete asphalt supply in February, March, because that's when the prices seem to be the lowest. This project was bid in 2020, and as you see, the price of oil at that point was, at that point in time, was $410 per ton. The following year, it dropped $20 to $390, but this year it skyrocketed to $570 per ton. And in there, we provided the calculations as to what this difference is. It amounts to $8.25 additional per ton for the bituminous surfacing. Because that is to be applied this year, that rate increase would only be in effect for that bituminous square court surface. It would not affect any repairs that, or the bituminous base course that was installed last year. There may be some repairs on it yet this year following corrective actions, but this cost would not be reflected in that bituminous base course. And it is the actual cost increase, there's no markup for overhead or profit or anything like that. So with that, I would recommend approval of change order number 1, but would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I'll make that motion.
Support?
Support.
Support, Marty. All in favor? Or any discussion?
Yeah, I have a couple questions if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with this, Jim. My question is, where are we at with the discussion that we had started previously about holding them accountable to the liquidated damages and condition that project is at? Because I have a hard time approving more money for them when we've had numerous discussions about charging them liquidated damages.
That's a discussion that we need to bring forward again. I wasn't sure what you wanted to do in terms of timing taken care of, that it probably wasn't beneficial to bring it back, but we do need, we talked about liquidated damages. There's also an amendment to the engineering fee that needs to be made because of the extra services that are required, so, my sense is once we find out what the corrective actions are gonna be, then we'll bring that, matter back before the council. We did do, a walkthrough, punch list walkthrough of the project yesterday. We are addressing and, the frozen water services, our guys, did some measuring of the depth. Larry, what's the proper terminology of those water services? We were coming up with depths that are basically about 6 feet, and, they're supposed to be at 8 feet. If there's something less than that, they need to be insulated. So within probably a couple of weeks, the, utility subcontractor will be in there, and we will be excavating, those two services. But we are gonna be checking other services as well, all along to make sure that everything's where it's supposed to be in terms of depth, or that it is insulated, before we get into, doing the sodding and the, application of the bituminous swearing course. There's, a lot of discussion going on, I guess I'll put it that way, with regards to the curb and gutter. It's really a shame, because the curb and gutter job itself, was done excellently. There's very few cracks out there, but it was the rolling of that bituminous base course where the operator was hugging the curb and gutter and breaking out chunks. Some of it is just, kind of an abrasion, but there's some chunks out of it. We have put the onus back on the, prime contractor, who's also the bituminous contractor, to come back with, some type of a corrective action. Whether it's complete removal and replacement, some type of rehab, cutting out the worst sections, we're gonna, or, might include a price reduction on the cost per foot. Because there are dangers if you remove everything, because we've got the sod in there already, the bituminous dry wafers are already in there, and the bituminous is in there. Start taking all that out, it starts sloughing in, and sometimes it causes more problems than what it does. So, we will be bringing that information back to you, as we move along. But, we're expecting the, water service line freezing problem to be addressed within the next 2 weeks. And I would expect that we're gonna be also receiving within the next 2 weeks, some type of a, reply or proposal from Wasabi Bituminous with regards to the curb and gutter.
Okay.
In relation to the water lines, you guys are gonna measure all the water lines on that job, right? Not just the ones that froze? I'd hate to have one freeze next year or 2 years that's not where it should be, or not insulated.
Yes, we're gonna start, those that we know are basically probably near bedrock, and that's part of our dilemma. Are they on bedrock, which they're laying it on top of bedrock, and if that's the case, then they need to be insulated. But we will be, as we go down the line each way from there, we are going to be checking those to make sure that, we don't have future problems.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you very much, Council.
Alright, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Counselor Alverson.
Thank you. Looking for approval, the resolution to accept donated funds from Scott Jones. He had a fundraiser and he raised $752 that he's donating to the city. And the people at the fundraiser had a consensus that we would like to see the money go towards our new fishing pier project to help with the city's portion of that project, and or placing a porta john at the new fishing pier.
I'll make that motion to accept resolution number 0522-56 and send a thank you to Scott Jones.
Thank you.
Support.
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Colleen, good evening again.
Good evening again, yes, thank you. So on the agenda is a resolution to schedule a public hearing on financing and refinancing projects for Chisholm Health Center. As the council might recall, a few weeks back, probably a couple months actually at this point now that I think about it, there was a resolution passed to engage in this process, which basically sets the city of Chisholm up as a conduit financer, being like a party that will allow Chisholm Health Center to obtain a state bond, and it'll be a pass-through. I don't know if Mia Thibodeau's here. She's here from the Freiberger firm. She's actually bond counsel on this, so she may have some more information. But the information I want to bring forth to the council before the council considers this resolution, this would be normally the next step in the process to set up the public hearing for that. The concerns that Brian and I had in talking to Ms. Thibodeau today were that basically that although this resolution and going forward with this process would not affect the city's credit rating or bond rating, it would not affect its ability to obtain financing through a bond or create any liability for the city, accepting this role as a governing body in this resolution going forward could increase the cost of borrowing to the city if it's going to seek any state bonds for the calendar year 2022. So I know the city of Chisholm is looking at some the public safety building, moving forward with that project. So the concern would be that if the city accepts this role as a bond conduit financing governing body, they basically would lose the ability to get bank qualified bonds, which reduce the cost of borrowing. So it could, if the city's looking at obtaining state bonds by the end of this year, they could be spending more to get that financing because those bonds would not be available. I hope I summed that up, Ms. Thibodeau, correctly, and if you have anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, I'll wait to see if there are
Questions, okay. So the city really has three choices at this time. It could terminate its participation in this process as the government body, could table the issue to determine whether you actually are going to be seeking state bonds in this calendar year, and we could talk with Ms. Thibodeau in terms of timelines, what we could do in terms of postponing this. Or number three, you could approve it as written. But again, the concern would be if you are considering some bond financing, it could increase the cost for the city.
Okay. Well, I definitely think that is probably something that we're gonna be looking at with our lack of funds. So I would probably suggest that we table this. Unless anybody has any other questions you wanna take care of now?
And Ms. Thibodeau may be able to guide us a little bit in terms of the timelines.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, Mia Thibodeau, work at the Freiberger firm. Yeah, I think the important points are, the question is, are you going to be issuing bonds in calendar year 2022? And if the answer is no, then I think we're okay to proceed. And if the answer is yes, or maybe, then I think the council needs to consider, whether this is an option you want to proceed with. Bonds can be issued on a bank qualified basis. It does reduce the cost of borrowing. And if you issue bonds on behalf of Chisholm Health Center as a conduit issuer, you would utilize, so the IRS says you get $10 million a year. And the Chisholm Health Center project, the issuance is going to be about $17 million. And so you would use up your bank qualified cap. And so then if you went to borrow money in, let's say, November, you wouldn't be able to issue bonds on a bank qualified basis. And the BQ designation is what reduces the cost to banks, which in turn reduces the cost to you. So I hope that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
Unfortunately, as you may know, the project for Chisholm Health Center is proceeding already, and so they do need to get financing in place. And so if the answer is we can't proceed because we want to preserve our BQ ability for this fall, then Chisholm Health Center will probably have to identify a different conduit bond issuer. And we haven't identified that alternative issuer yet, but we would obviously be doing that in a big hurry.
I guess, Ms. Thibodeau, is there any potential, I guess, if the council just needs a little bit of time to determine whether they're going to be seeking those bonds, if they can find that information out in a period of time, is there enough time where we could just postpone this public hearing and keep it on track temporarily, or is that not really something we can do at this point?
If you, kind of depends on what timeline you think you're gonna need to figure that out in.
Okay.
We pretty much need to have a public hearing in early June.
Okay.
And so that would mean, publication 14 days in advance of that hearing, so there's really not a lot of time.
Sure.
And so, I mean, if you need a couple weeks to figure it out, then I would say, yeah, we could probably, authorize the administrator to approve publication once that decision's made. A lot of times, city councils will, allow publication of a notice of public hearing. I mean, because you can publish the notice and then not proceed with the public hearing, you can hold it.
Marty, I think you had a question?
And this is a annual cap, so if we were gonna issue bonds in
Yeah.
2023,
Right,
January 2nd, we're
you'd
okay.
be fine. Yeah, and I know, I don't know where the process is at, but typically, construction financing, you wouldn't be issuing bonds until you're closer to, machines in the ground getting started on the project. And I'm not familiar with where exactly the project is at.
Well, if we were able to table this into our next council meeting, that would give you the 14 days of publication before June 8th.
I think it would, I'm
Because
sorry.
we're already at May 11th right
Right.
now,
So
right?
May 25th.
Cause we would need to publish it, we'd need to send it in for publication actually, and because the paper only publishes on certain days, we'd have to send it in, I think, next week even. I'm just looking at the wrong month, yeah,
Posted, we could post.
yeah, we'd have to send it in next week.
Posted by then.
Okay, if you're comfortable, making a motion to post the publication, and we can pull it if we change our minds.
What are your thoughts?
So I just had this discussion today with Clean Manager Lindsay, and I can't make that determination today if we are going to
Yeah.
bond, cause the project is going to be bid out in July, which potentially is starting construction in September. So I need a little bit of time before I can say yes or no for sure.
Okay, well, if someone would like to make a motion to approve resolution
I was gonna
0.
say, I mean, is a 1 week delay gonna, or a 2 week delay gonna affect you that much? I mean, if you did it June 15th or June 22nd?
I can't make that decision, actually who would make that decision is the, director of Chisholm Health Center. And I think the answer would be, I'm just gonna speculate here, would be probably not, because, as you may all know, the interest rates are moving through the roof, and so the longer we wait to go to the market, the higher the borrowing rate for the entity. So,
Okay.
I apologize that the time crunch exists. I actually, just discovered the potential that you'd be potentially doing a project and having to issue more bonds later in the year, so.
Well, it's definitely something that we have to look into, our projects here
Absolutely.
obviously take precedent,
Take
but,
precedent.
so if we approve this tonight, we would just cancel it at the next meeting if we decided that we,
I believe they'd be free to do that even if they
Yeah.
publish, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd just be publishing and then you do another publication, canceling the public hearing, I would assume.
That's great.
So it's up to the council what they,
And if,
you know.
Administrator, if if the answer is you won't know, if next week you say to me, we just don't know and we won't know, then we'll just have to identify a different issue.
Okay.
okay. So I'd look for a motion to approve resolution 0522-57 and schedule a public hearing on financing and refinancing projects for Chisholm Health Center.
We need to change that date to 5 o'clock. Yeah,
Oh,
Excuse me,
cause our,
change the notice to 5.
yeah, our
Change the
council
notice to
meetings
5 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just approve the
I can do that.
Yeah, we're just approving the posting of the public hearing.
Not the resolution.
Right, it's to schedule the public hearing that's required before the process can continue, so.
Right.
And as Ms. Thibodeau said, we, should you determine that you may be looking for bond financing and you don't wanna participate any longer, then you would, as soon as possible, then let her know, and we would do another notice in the paper saying it's been canceled.
But we'll have to approve this resolution, correct?
That's it?
We have to approve that resolution.
That's
Yeah.
correct, to get it published.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Would somebody like to make that motion?
Make the motion to publish the notice for June 8th, 5 p.m. at City Hall.
Support.
Support? And that motion needs to include, so we are approving that resolution, right? The resolution is to post.
Mhm.
Okay.
As modified, right, by the 5 p.m. designation,
modified.
yeah.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll follow up with you next week with what we do.
Okay, sounds good, thank you.
City Administrator, Ms. Grava.
Hi, I'm looking, for approval for resolution number 0522-58 to, what this is a internal demo grant for a downtown business. We had somebody that purchased a building, and the city is eligible to apply for funds through IRRR for, commercial demo. It's not for the building, the whole building, it's just the interior of it. This project would go out for bid.
Alright, look for a motion to approve resolution 0522-58. Apply and accept grant funds from IRRR demolition of 123 Lake Street.
And that's internally,
Correct. Yep, they'll be doing construction on the building, but this particular grant would run through the city.
oh,
Yep, so I'll work with the new owners of that building.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Support.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Congratulations to those business owners. Good to see some activity on Main Street. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
The next item that I have is also for a new business downtown. The folks that purchased the bakery are interested in the vacant lot next door, which, as you already know, we had purchased that for parks. And if we want to use it for economic development, we have to purchase it a different way through the county. So what I am requesting is that we would approve resolution, number 052259, to purchase it for economic development, and then we would turn around and sell that to the new owners. And then we also have to resend the resolution of 0122-13, which was our original resolution to purchase it for park purposes. Two motions.
Separate.
Yep.
What if there was another entity on that block that wanted to purchase that?
We actually looked into that before we purchased it for parks.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about the new business owners that are down the block from there that just purchased that, and they're looking at that building next door. And if they got that building, there's that public park area that we deem public, as a public park. But couldn't we make something where we could have it up for bids or something like that from those entities instead of just giving it to somebody that wants us to turn it around? I don't know.
Put it for sale,
Yes,
that is an option.
I'm just thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can make some money off of it to pay
Right.
for other things.
Right. You know, and the only thing about that is you're also hoping that they go through, I mean, we have a business in town that did purchase this building. I think that when you're talking about there's a vacant for sale building in between them and the lot. So, on one hand, we have a business that's ready to go, that already purchased it and is ready to buy that lot. On the other hand, you have another business that needs to buy a building, that needs to buy the lot.
But they're actually in that process, so I don't really
Yeah.
wanna go into
Yeah.
any of their business, but What does everybody else think, I guess?
Well, I think we have a business that has come to us with this, opportunity, and they're ready to jump on it. And it's kind of first come, first served, and we can hold it and wait for somebody else and hope it goes through. I hope they can come to agreements on other businesses and lots. I don't know if it'd be too appropriate for us to hold a lot vacant, for somebody else in anticipation of future development. Either way, it's gonna get developed and used. That would be my opinion. I would seek for a motion to rescind the first, resolution and, move this back to the EDA for economic development. So is that what we're doing here, or Administrator? So we're gonna rescind this and it's gonna move to EDA, and that would be the EDA's decision on how it was used or sold?
Well, we need
or-
to resend it, and then we need to approve the purchase of the other one for economic development purposes.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I would look for.
But two different motions.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the first motion to rescind, that is
0122-13.
0122. Okay, I'll make that motion to rescind, and pass resolution number 0122-13.
Thank you, Counselor Baki. Is there support?
Support.
Counselor Miklaraha. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Okay, now we're going to resolution 0522-59, transfers it to the city for economic development.
That's correct.
Okay, I will make that motion.
I would second that.
Thank you, Counselor Baki. Thank you, Counselor Fulton. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
So now that it's in economic development's hands, you guys can figure out from there? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. It's always exciting when it goes to economic development.
Yes.
It's a good thing. The last item I have is a proposal from Rock Solid. I will have Councilor Halverson help me with this one. We have been working with him, with Rock Solid, as he stated, for the scope of work for this coming year. These funds are still coming out of our Trails Warranty Grant that we have received from IRRR. And just to confirm, we aren't building new trails, we are fixing the current trails that we have. That's what this proposal is for, and there's two different phases, as you can see on page 68. The first phase is for the planning. They'll come assess the trails, see what needs to be done, and then our second phase would be the actual construction portion of the trails. Councilor Halverson has also provided maps and other information as far as the trail system goes, so I don't know if you have anything to add to that?
I guess the main focus is going to be this year to try and cut down on the number of places where the Redhead Trail crosses the ATV trail. There's at least a dozen crossings right now. We're going to try and cut that in half if we can, because there are a safety concern. And if we can do that, I think we'll just cut down on the number of chances that there could be a potential incident out there between ATVs and the shuttle and the bikers. So that's the primary focus, and we're also gonna try to add some more beginner trails. Again, it's kind of a safety thing for beginning riders, so they don't get thrown to the extreme areas right off the bat and either get hurt or get discouraged. And try and coordinate it so that it works better for the high school race in October. There's a lot of younger kids that do that, don't have a lot of experience. And so those are the two main focus items, and then we're also gonna have to go back and address the work done last year to assure that that's holding up as we anticipated. will be probably coming out in the next week or so and, evaluating that, just to make sure everything is held up well over the winter and spring thaw. So that is, that's the summary of what we're planning to do.
Okay. And this would all come out of the, maintenance budget?
Yeah, the grant. This dollar amount will stay within with our remaining budget in that grant.
Okay. Improving safety, I like it.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Good job. Great
Thank
job,
you.
Marty.
All right, on to Mayor Champa. First, order of business, we have a request from Kelly Harris, Gym Sports Club to lift the noise ordinance. Requesting dates June 4th, June 18th, 25th, July 9th, August 27th, September 3rd, lifting the noise ordinance until 12 a.m. I believe this has been a really good thing to do in the past. There's people, a lot of something to do inside the community, and that's one of our local businesses utilize the fruits of their labor, the money they put into their patio. Does anybody have anything wrong with these dates? If not, I would look for a motion to approve those dates and lifting the ordinance for those dates.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Any further discussion? All in favor?
There's just I'm not an issue with this request has been granted over the last several years. It's just the light acoustic show that doesn't interfere with the ordinance from 7 to 10. Technically that's not an accurate depiction of what the ordinance says. The ordinance actually is kind of like, if it's interfering, it's interfering, but after 10 o'clock, like a most part is interfering, so it dens it even more and becomes more restrictive, but you can still violate a noise ordinance at noon. So it's a little bit deceiving there, but the request itself is not more than compliance. I just thought I'd bring that up.
Thank you. Folks
So
at
you all
home
have
that
an
couldn't hear the
understanding
chief.
of it, because people think I can be as loud as I want until 10 p.m. Not necessarily true.
Copy that.
Good clarification.
Thank you, chief. For anybody at home, noise ordinance is in effect. Alright, so we have motion support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Thank you. Northern Tracks ATV Club request. Requesting West Lake Street be closed for 2 hours from Keyboard Liquor to driveway to Freedom Driveway 2 blocks on May 21st, 8:30 to 10:30. The annual spring ride, and they are expecting a huge turnout of visitors from all over. Again, another great activity in town. Like I say, everybody says it's better in Chisholm, and it really is. Chief?
Let's use
No
that.
problems?
Here, repeat nice.
Makes a difference.
I didn't say 22:30. Alright. So I would look for a motion to approve the closing of the West Lake Street between Keyboard and Freedom.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Counselor Baki.
Second.
Counselor Fulton. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Oh, the fun one. The mayor's not here for this. Alright. Fishing in Redhead Mountain Bike Park Pit. Wants to have a discussion about fishing in the Redhead. We all did get a letter from the mayor. I'm sorry I didn't print it off so I could read it to everybody at home. Maybe Administrator Scrava, if you would like to, or you wanna take any of that from mayor? Or start your inklings of the discussion. I myself, I know there's people that have been using this area for a long time, and I don't think it's been a problem, and I just don't even know why we would need to address it. I don't think we need to advertise. I just think that we should leave it alone, and if there's something that needs to be addressed, we'd address it.
Do you have something?
Give her a talking point.
So I did you know, when any of this stuff comes to mind, I always have to think about the liability from the city and what, once you open it, what that does mean. So I did have discussions with Attorney Lindsay, and we followed up today on what the legality of it is, if you allow, what types of boat, do you have to have a boat launch, where does the road come in, if you have how many vehicles, or if you allow something outside of an ATV. So all of those questions are what typically I think of when we have these discussions. And to my understanding, and if you can elaborate a little bit more, if we don't have to have a boat launch, if you can carry the boat into the water, and if we look at having a boat launch, obviously that's an additional expense that we'd have to take into consideration. So I just want to be mindful of that. And you know, when it comes to when the city does allow something, obviously then we know some people do it, but it's not an allowable use at this point. But when it does become an allowable use, we have to make sure that we have the proper guidelines and we're following what will cover under our insurance liability and all of those sorts of things too. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on,
Sure.
on
I mean,
that piece of?
I think you summed it up really well. It really becomes an issue of, you know, if things are happening once the city's aware of it or once the city's endorsing it or helping promote it, then the city takes on the responsibility for that. And, you know, we do have insurance through the league, but we want to make sure that we're doing it carefully and appropriately so that it is within our coverage should an incident occur. And I don't know if the chief would have something in terms of the, you know, from that end, but basically that's what we want to be really careful about what we're doing. And then there's also, you know, maybe potentially some environmental issues you want to think about. This is a closed system lake. Again, I'm not an expert in that, but that's a consideration there. You could certainly allow some access of some types of boating, you know, and restrict others. You could not allow any, you could allow it all. So, but, you know, there might be ways to come up with something where you can allow some access that protects and preserves it. But then when we do, we want to make sure we're doing the right thing as a city to take the proper steps and make sure we've got coverage with the league and we're doing everything appropriately to protect people and to protect the city from liability, so.
So I guess my question is, and maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. Currently, there is no rules for that area, but the Discovery Center decided to post signs and they tell people that they cannot access, right?
Those came from the city.
Okay, so
We do have rules currently.
but we passed rules on that? Oh, well, maybe my question is irrelevant, but I guess if we've already established rules, then
Yeah, and I would just say if we restricted access and somebody goes in there, then they're assuming the risk, they're taking on that thing, and they've been warned, and we would have greater protection from a liability perspective. You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Since we've actually done that. But, you know, again, it's not to say the city can't open it up, they can't make decisions about that. You just wanna do it carefully, make sure you're gonna have coverage, make sure people will be protected as best you can, so.
So can you refresh me what our rules are? Cause I don't recall.
I'd have to go back and look, but we posted those signage
Okay.
that are down at the
So
beach.
basically, we've already decided that at some point we restricted the people that could access the water. Because there's rules down there, right?
It was never an accessible use in that space. So if we wanted to change it, we can, but we posted what has been, it's never been open for the public to go down. People have used it, yes, but it's not, we didn't change the use of it, that was the current use.
Gotcha.
And then
I'm following you.
posting the
Yeah.
warnings is just
Right,
verifying
right.
what has been
So basically,
practiced.
we're deciding whether we should revoke the rules that we've set, and then that would allow people to fish.
Right.
Okay.
Today's just informational
Yep,
too,
Yep, I just wanna make sure I was.
Counselor, help.
I guess my biggest concern right now is because it is a closed system. I feel like we should get a little bit more information on what we can do to safely maintain that ecosystem in the lake before we make any other decisions about introducing like boats and motors. And in my opinion, fishing and boats with motors are two separate issues.
Yeah.
And I think we just need a little bit more information on that.
I can look into that.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, thank you. Yeah, I guess, is it posted, you can't fish in that pit? Or do we-
I don't know if it's posted no fishing, but there's
'Cause I think we're-
no motor,
I think
no
there's
boats
two
with
issues here.
motors,
Fishing,
yeah.
I think is.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I don't believe it's no fishing, it's
Okay.
it's the boat portion,
Yeah.
the motor, the boats with motors, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think that the fishing is a concern, but
No.
watercraft, what type of watercraft?
Right.
I mean, I know right now, they're renting what kayaks and paddleboards from the Discovery Center. And I believe people can bring their own down there, right? If
Mhm.
they haul their own or get a ride on the shuttle, they can
Mhm.
bring their own kayak and paddleboard.
Mhm.
And I don't know, canoe, I don't know,
Mhm.
canoe, so if it's non-motorized right now, that's okay, so
Mhm.
people can go out and fish, paddle around.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the question becomes then if motorized gets introduced, and right now, there's, the existing use is non-motorized.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, and those are the questions we have to decide on is if we're gonna allow motorized, is it electric only or gasoline motors, and is there gonna be a size limit or boat size limit? And right now, it's an ATV trail, so if we keep it as an ATV trail, somebody would have to use an ATV to bring their boat down there, and like we said, there's no boat landing. So you're forcing people to have small boats that they can carry to the water because there is no boat landing. And with that in mind, I mean, those are the things we have to decide. And then parking, if we open it up and all of a sudden there's 30 ATVs pulling boats down there, is there room for people to park down there on a nice day? Because it's not a public road and it's only for maintenance vehicles and the shuttle and the ATVs and without the landing, unless we get a grant for money for putting in a big boat landing, this is not cheap either, we don't have money for that right now.
Yeah, no, there's lots of questions on how you get down there. Myself, I don't, when, Emlis director, Ms. Davis showed up to see our community, first thing we did, I threw her in my truck and we drove right down to the pit. And while we were down there showing her, we had a pickup truck with a trailer that had 2 kayaks on it, come down to the pit. I think it's something that's been used for many years. Larry, I think you can confirm, I think you widened that road so we can get ambulance down there and vehicles, so. I just don't think all of a sudden we're gonna see 15 vehicles down there pulling boats and putting things in there, so. Definitely things to talk about. When you're looking at, the information for Councilor McIlraha, would you also find the information about the rules, if you would, for us? When and what they were? Cause I saw that too and I don't remember a couple of those rules that were on there, but. I've been
So-
around before.
Yeah, just a quick question, Vern. So if someone calls you and says, hey, there's a boat in the lake down at the Redhead with a Johnsonville 15 horsepower motor on it, you just go cite them or what?
I'd have to refer him back to Stephanie, because I don't remember what the rules are either at this point.
No.
We'd have to go back and.
But then again, I'm 50, so I don't remember that, right, this, let alone what we talked about last year. I'd actually have to go out and take a look at what was actually posted right now, because offhand, I don't remember. I remember I was there, when we brought Jess down and the truck came down and I was like, yeah, we don't have no trucks travel at this time, and trucks aren't supposed to be on ATV trails, so we have to post that, and, we were lacking a little bit of information to post there at the time, so I don't know what signs are up, so I would have to look first and get back to them, but, or if it was down, we'd go down and investigate, just like at the Gaps.
Yeah, right, right, yeah,
So,
yeah.
and see what it does say, because
I think
I really-
you bring up a good point too, as far as if it's, their cars aren't allowed on ATV trails, so what would we do to, if we did allow vehicles, that's the next step too, cause that is an ATV trail, so.
And the mayor did bring up another side of the pit that used to be accessible at one time, so maybe that is, something to look at. I don't know the pit very well, so that's the only entrance that I know.
Yeah, we've talked about that, so that's coming, off of 169, the back way. We have looked into that with MnDOT, and we'd have to change the road to get it have a proper turning area into there. So there is discussion surrounded around that also.
Okay.
is there also some other private entity land back there as well
Yes.
that access could be non-granted.
Yes, yep,
Okay.
yes, there
There's a lot of
is.
entities that are involved in that because of landowners as well, so.
Well, I would definitely like to see a solution in place before, prohibiting anything, but I would definitely like to open it up for individuals, especially our community individuals that have been here for many years and been using this, you know.
It gets back to the crossings of bike trail.
Right.
The more traffic you introduce, the more chances you have a collision out there. That's why you wanna try to get rid of some of these crossings, cause there's so many of them. And right now, the bikes are supposed to have it right away, but I think we might have to think about that, because for safety, we don't wanna give the ATVs right away, cause they don't stop at stop signs.
They're so small though.
Yeah, the signs are small, but they generally get ignored.
I would agree, it'd be nice to have the discussion to like, to answer Councilman Hockey's question, to have a established set of rules and ordinances where we can enforce and then we would all know. So, it would be nice to have that discussion and set, whatever it is. I don't have a dog in that fight, try to put a 200 horse in there, it's pretty hard right now, but I mean, whatever it is, and everybody has their opinion, just so we know what we have to do.
Yeah.
We have a patrol boat for.
I want one of those really nice ones.
That's what I'm saying.
Better get them a boat landing first.
Yeah.
That would be a question I had for you, because I know the DNR said it cost hundreds of $1,000s to put a boat landing in there, and I don't think that DNR official had gone down there, but with your background, that's a haul road that is being used as a boat landing,
It's
right?
not the one on the bottom where they're landing now, but there's on the far side, there's a haul road that goes in.
Down
That
by
one
the
cuts
island,
off pretty deep.
over by that island area. I think
Yeah,
that would be
yeah,
probably the place to
away
do it.
from that dip where we stopped and it was where the dock is, that's all pretty stiff.
Yeah.
And to build something there would be astronomical in price, but to use existing an old haul road that actually goes around the outside of the pit, which is down on
For
the
the east.
east side,
Yeah, and south. Yeah.
then you have one that is always there. It's
Right.
natural.
It might be adequate
Right.
as is.
If we can get
depends on the grade of the road going into the water.
Okay.
Yeah, where it is now, you can't dock anything big, but over there, you have to move a few boulders and stuff to get to it. Hate to have brought that up, but yeah, there was access there. Sorry.
Okay, well, good discussion. Anybody have anything else?
Is there, just to confirm, so I'll look into the safe waters for the ecosystem, we'll pull the rules. Is there anything else that council would want me to look at before we bring it back?
Just some information as far as what the other opportunity would be. You know, if there is a solution, if this one doesn't work, if there's something else that we can do. I mean, at least just, bring us up to date with what you know.
If I could, there are, used to be Greg White's a lot of Grand Rapids, but there are people that DNR fisheries and wildlife, water, and that, do that in water, and they can probably talk to what has happened in Gilbert with that pit and motors and can actually give you the studies that they've done. That might be the people to actually look forward to, and maybe even come and give you the presentation on, what they know. So there are people that do that.
And there
With the
is,
DNR
there is
for
flow
free.
in and out of that pit.
Right.
We know this has been known for a long time. And
Right.
that's why it's gone down so much over the years. It's all draining towards Hidden Academy where they're pumping.
Right.
Right.
It comes in from the northeast, from Fraser, Sherman, and all those areas, and flows in and then flows through and out. So there is flow, it's just not a open river, it's all through the groundwater.
Yep.
Okay.
And old mine workings, underground shafts and tunnels and things.
Thank you very much.
Are you gonna talk to the DNR then? So I guess my question for them would be the same question that I asked Vern, and that is, if someone's in there, what's the penalty?
That would be something we would
Right.
determine.
Like, what I'm getting at is, does the game warden have to be there to see him in the water and give him a citation, or does the Chisholm police? Because I guess, going back to something Adam said earlier, is if we create something, are we making it worse than what it is now? Like, if a random person goes down there now and drags their four-wheeler down, their boat down with their four-wheeler and accesses it, like, I mean, this is a McCarthy Beach. It's not like we have 20 trucks in line to land a boat here. We're talking about like random people who just wanna go fish.
Yeah, Steve,
Right?
Paul,
Yeah,
or Mary.
like I question whether we're making this a bigger issue by setting up rules than it currently is now. Like, I mean, I've never once in 4 years I've been sitting in this seat had a complaint to me about a boat in that water. Nor a ski boat, a jet ski, anything. So, I guess my question is it, are we doing more harm than help here? And I guess that's the answer that I need to know, because I seriously think we might be doing more harm than good by creating more rules.
I think if administrator is able to get us some information that we requested and, I don't know, possibly set up a working session to have this, you know, we did that once before with the working session, I think it'd be good to do it again. Alright, anybody have anything else?
You've got a resignation.
Well, I'm getting there, Jim, hold on, we're still on the redhead. We're still on redhead. It's my time to shine, Jim. Here.
You're already 50 minutes overdue.
I did, yeah. I lost a bet. Last, but not least, very, very sad to say that, one of our firefighters, is resigning from his post. He wrote a letter, I'm gonna read it for you now. I'm writing this letter to inform you that effective today, May 3rd, I'm stepping down from the department. My decision was not an easy one to make and have been thinking about how to handle it for a while. But based on my physical condition, I feel that I can't be 100% at every call, do all the jobs expected of me. I'm holding the department back. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve with you all and help a great town for 6 years. I learned a lot about and have a great respect for what it means to be a firefighter. Thanks, Corey Lundeen. Corey's he just had his 6-year anniversary back in March. He's been a very good member and brother on the department, so thank you very much, Corey, for everything you've done. Sad to see him go. You know, back injuries, people play too hard when they're younger. He just felt that it was best to step away and open up that spot for somebody else. So I would look for a motion to approve and accept that resignation from Corey Lundeen and send him a letter of thank you.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Counselor
Support.
Makaraha. Thank you, Counselor Baki. Any other discussion?
Thank
All
you,
in-
Mr. Lundin. Sorry. Thank you for your service in our community, and we really appreciate you. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Does anyone have anything for miscellaneous? So I think on the next agenda, maybe we can have a working session added for the pit, Red Ed pit. Susan? Thank you.
Yeah, I think, yes, but I would like it to just be, I mean, anyone can come to a working session, but I don't think we need to invite anybody aside from us initially. That would be my thoughts.
Right, like the DNR and.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Nothing? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I like that motion.
Thank you, Counselor Fountain. Is there support?
Support.
Thank you, Counselor Makaraha. Oh, congratulations on your 10-year anniversary. I hope you have a fun night. Leaving Chisholm for Duluth. I don't know what you can do down there.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
So those rules, they're
Where you
like,
guys going?
swim at your own risk, no glass.